especially the last couple of minutes on Monday Night Football each and every week have been something to behold. 28th Monday Night Football game played here at Qualcomm in San Diego. They played 3 Super Bowls. Well, Super Bowl's not coming back. We'll see if the Chargers are coming back come next season. This is the kind of game, guys, that these two teams have both been losing all season.
Someone had to do it, right?
Somebody had to win, and in the end, it's Chicago in improbable fashion.
Well, I really love what Jay Cutler did tonight. I mean, that's the story of the night, because if the Bears are going to be this building that John Fox has talked about, it's going to be about Jay Cutler. And Adam Gase has gotten him. You can see the structure. You can see how he's surveying and being careful. The ball, even the pick 6, I thought was a bad route. So, I mean, Jay Cutler was a star of tonight. The play he had as good a play as he's had as a Chicago Bear. This run that he had tonight, I thought was spectacular.
And talking about the building that John Fox has mentioned, if you're trying to build culture, you want to build finishers. You want guys to play their best football in the biggest moments. They've had some tough losses at the end of the game. For them to go on the road Monday night for Jay Cutler, Alshon Jeffrey.
Without a lot of guys.
All the guys who showed up at the end of that offensive drive, and then the defense showed up. But this drive was phenomenal. I mean, here's the touchdown catch. That was just an amazing catch. But what led to that touchdown was just some phenomenal playmaking by Jay Cutler, Alshon Jeffrey, off platform, facing the blitz. And the defense comes over angry. Houston gets the big sacks. They overwhelm the offensive line. So true finishers there in Chicago tonight.
You know, I think you take your hats off to Chicago. But something's really interesting, right? So we've been here over the last month. We've been here twice, like over the last month. And when you think about San Diego culture, right? When we talk about culture, it sounded like this is a Bears home stadium. It sounded like this is Pittsburgh's home stadium the last 2 weeks, right? And so when you think about that, I mean, I couldn't even imagine that happening ever in Baltimore. Right. That type of swing of emotions. And when you see the swing of emotions going in here, you see the Chargers players get in the fourth quarter, and you see doubt start seeping in their faces when Chicago goes down and score. It's like, what happened to the motivation to keep going? What happened to the motivation of my crowd going to be with me? My energy's going to be.
We talked about that before the game.
Yeah.
They don't have a home.
Right.
Because if you don't have a home, you really have that's one of those elements.
They don't know where they're
shield,
next
right?
year.
Right?
They don't know whether they went silent. They went silent count at home against Pittsburgh. Think about that. I bet you never did that in San Francisco.
No, that's an interesting point too that Ray makes, because think about all the things that the Chargers are working uphill against: the injuries, the tough breaks, everything.
Both teams had that tonight.
No, I'm saying, but now you lose to Pittsburgh in a game that you controlled. You lose the Bears in a game you controlled, and you're trying to dig deep. You're trying to find that something next year. You're trying to make the one play that's going to define the game, that's going to finish the game for you, and you look around and you don't have the support of the people.
You had Danny Woodhead, but that was about it.
Yeah. And listen, so when you think about Phillip, right? The pressure from the Bears all night, they talked about it coming in. The front four of the Bears, really, when you can rush 4 and drop 7, you got a great master plan. But when you think about what Phillip Rivers doesn't have, he doesn't have that big play guy anymore, right? When you lose that big play guy going out, you have to go to Danny Woodhead, who was a great addition tonight, made all of the plays. But then defensively, if you're San Diego, what are you going to do when you give up plays like that?
Well, they had the big, they had the touchdown that was called back. They had the penalty. They had you give Phillip Rivers 3 minutes.
The drop comeback that makes it second and short.
You have 3 minutes to go get 3 points. I give Phillip Rivers 8 out of 10
every time.
I mean, that's just,
every time.
He's still among the leading passers in the NFL. That's with virtually zero running game. He had 4 left tackles last week.
Crazy.
4 different left tackles. They've used 14 combinations on the offensive line this season, the Chargers. It does seem, and this must permeate into the locker room, and you guys can tell me about it, it's all doom and gloom here in San Diego. The injuries, the way they're losing, the stadium they play in, and everywhere you go in this town, people are saying, hey, are my Chargers leaving?
I think the Chargers are leaving. Is when and how, And they get a big vote for from the owners in January. So, I mean, they're acting. If they're not leaving, they got a problem, because there's nothing. I don't know what's here to stick around.
But even that is messy, right? Because there is a proposal to keep them here for a new stadium, but they can't take the chance. If that falls through, then they're not in play. They lose out in the possibility of Los Angeles. So even that isn't clean.
But I think all of that, we talked about it before.
That's heavy stuff for a player.
That's exactly right.
Family that's going to work in a culture where you've just lost all these games. Nothing's right. You don't like your friends. We talked about this pregame. Your wife's not pretty. Your food doesn't taste well. Your kids are driving you nuts. You don't like seeing the guy at work. And now you got to think about, well, do I have to sell my house? Where are my kids going to go to school next year?
Real life.
Is my wife going to be happy?
But
That's
also,
a huge burden to carry as an athlete.
There's so many guys that it's easy to find exits. Hold everyone together, play hard, give all of themselves every week as they ask in the NFL. The teams that have that structure to make that happen, they're the guys that are winning. When you start to lose that, when you have the reasons to go, put yourself at risk, that's when things start to fall away pretty quickly.
Let's reel it back in because people in Chicago said, hey, we won the football game. Enough San Diego talk. Let's talk about the Bears. 3-5. Can they make anything, Ray, out of this season still? Maybe this is a spark tonight.
They're feisty. As you saw that, right? With all the things...
They're well coached. You can see that they've tightened up all that stuff that used to happen.
It was interesting because when McPhee ran over, there's one thing he said, right? He was like, I'm gonna take this team and I'm gonna do something really special with this team. And watch, you guys talked about this earlier. And has Jay Cutler really gotten better, right? As he took the next step. But this, to me, is what Jay Cutler's kind of always done, right? There were good, there was bad. But I think overall, he's matured enough to put his guys in position to make plays. And that's what I think you see with the Bears. I think they're really maturing and trusting each other.
I think it's that maturity is what you're able to overcome as a football team. 2 missed field goals, both of which Robbie Gould usually makes in his sleep. A pick six, which is a kind of a bad route, but also Brett gets away with pulling the jersey at the top of the route. Easily could have been a defensive holding call there. The bad roughing the quarterback penalty at the end of the first half that leads to a field goal for the they overcame a lot. And a lot of teams want to take, and a lot of teams don't have the maturity to keep their heads held high and keep pushing forward. This team does. This team went on the road, overcame a lot, fought hard, finished. This is a good sign for the Chicago Bears.
For all this, there is still something negative. Adam Gase, who needs to stay.
He's going to be a head coach.
It's going to be a head coach. So this idea that Jay Cutler and Adam Gase have finally found this symbiotic relationship where you're going to get the most out of Jay Cutler, and he's going to go at the end of the season. And that's if I'm a Bear fan, how can we hold on to this guy? Because what happened with Jay Cutler right now, what I'm seeing with not a lot of help, I want
Dow Loggins, the quarterback coach, they're kind of a package deal. So if you lose Adam, you're losing Dow, and Jay needs both of them to stay in place.
With no Matt Forte in the lineup for Chicago, a whole lot of people didn't give the Bears too much of a chance. He's so much of their offense. We will continue on Sports Center. We might even talk about some teams with 0 losses in the record when we come back to San Diego.
The Postgame Report is brought to you by GMC. We are professional grade.